Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith, and you are tuned in to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them and you in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. I'm your host, Sean Smith, and on the other line, we have our three-peat guest on the other line, all the way from Michigan. It's the Scrape Doctor himself. James, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Sean. Thanks for having me back again for the third time. This one should be a good one. We're season's in full swing. Things are happening.
That is without a doubt. A lot of things are happening. I'm glad to have you back. I'm very thankful that you've agreed to sit and do these this little series with us because just the amount of information. I think I've said it in almost every episode we've done now. Just the amount of information you're sharing is beneficial to the culture of whitetail hunters around. And that's just what your information, that's just your knowledge that you're pouring out, not even getting into the product line that you have there with Scrape Doctor. And, we've talked a lot coming into, preseason, I guess we'll call it the preseason. We'll call it about the very beginning of the season. And then this episode, we're going to focus on that last half of November. So we're looking at that last half of rut, probably some of peak rut, that post rut, and then what we're going to do once the snow starts to fly, especially here in Ohio and Michigan, and moving on to that springtime again. So I'm looking forward to this episode. But before we dive into that, how has things been going for you? What's new in Michigan in the life of the Scrape Doctor?
Yeah, we're blessed. We're very, very busy. Things are very busy for us here. It's been an October for the books. November doesn't look any different. We're rolling strong. We've added a new estrus to our lineup, Estrus RX. That's now available on the website for these guys. But yeah, we're rolling along. Things are busy. The Scrape Doctor hasn't even been in the woods yet to hunt, so that tells you how busy we are here.
Hold up. Two things. First, you haven't been in the woods yet. First, but also you got a new estrus out?
No, we've been to the lease. We do have scrapes running with the estrus in it. I just have not had a chance personally to hunt any of these places.
So let's talk about that. I mean, if you don't, do you mind? You want to talk about that estrus a little bit? Because
let's talk about it.
I haven't seen it yet. And shame on me. Like I've been on your website. It's been, last time was when I ordered my last batch of Scrape Magic, which is going great, by the way. But I didn't know about the estrus. So let's talk about it. What's the skinny behind it?
Yeah, well, it's just that. It's just an estrus for spraying directly in your scrape. These guys, everybody wants to have some kind of pee. Everybody thinks they need to have it for their scrape. So I personally don't use a lot of it. I'm not, there's no secret there. I've made no secret about that I'm not a urine guy. But I also don't want to disappoint customers who want something. And we've come up with something that's very effective. It's again, like the Scrape Magic, it's not like anything anybody's used to having or seeing or smelling, because everybody's first reaction is to pop the top and say, hey, smell this. Well, when you do that with the Estrus RX, you're not going to get that big jerk your head back and gag reaction, because it's not like that. But when you spray it into the scrapes and the grass surrounding the scrapes, things change quickly for you.
That's interesting. I'm sitting here thinking, because I, not to name other brands, but you get your tanks, you get whatever. The first thing us folks that like to hunt do is like, here, smell this. It's just sit there and gag on it. So You're saying it's not, it's not going to be that potent. So maybe the wives will like that a little bit better. So we won't smell like deer all the time.
They may very well like it better. The thing you get when you open those bottles and smell them is the ammonia smell from the broken down urine. It's already broken down in the bottle. That's where that smell comes from. So that'll ruffle feathers, I'm sure, in the urine industry, but it doesn't matter to me.
It is what it is.
Those guys they're still going to sell their pee. Doesn't matter what I say about it. Guys still use it by the gallon. I don't understand it, but they do it. So here we are. We've got our own thing, and yeah, it's been so far so good. It's been working great. Results are on par with Scrape Magic. You spray it, they smack it.
I can't beat that. So you mentioned something about, the ammonia smell, because of the urine breaking down. So by saying that, this product is also a synthetic, like the Scrape Magic, right?
Correct. 100% synthetic.
100% synthetic. So that means unless you leave it out in direct sunlight, this is going to last you for a while. Like, it probably should have like an almost indefinite shelf life.
Yep. Just like the Scrape Magic. Keep it out of the direct sun and keep it from getting to whatever that magic temperature range is, that 70 degrees Celsius to 140 Celsius, whatever that number is, 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, well, that's that's pretty high. At that point, the bottle probably melted.
Probably so, just, So just keep it off the dash of your truck and you're good. Keep it in your bag.
Awesome. So what's it going for?
$16.99 retail on the website plus shipping.
So that's $16.99, right?
1699. Yep.
Oh my goodness. That is like for Esther.
It's a 2-ounce bottle, just like the Scrape Magic with the Mister top.
Wow. For like an estrus, like, let's be honest. Like there's some other brands you go get an estrus. Like we're talking like this is their top level. Like this is it. Like you can pay as much as $60 for it,
Yep. A lot of it is, and most places, if they're selling a hot estrus like that, I mean, and I'm not picking on anyone, but like BS1, Code Blue, those bigger companies that sell it, I mean, you're looking at $40 an ounce for some of that stuff. And some of it's even more than that. I think the BS1 is a special order. You have to order it, and it's like $70 an ounce.
Yeah, it's expensive.
I think, and I could be wrong, and I don't want anyone to attack me because I said the wrong price, but it's very expensive.
No, you're right around there. It's about $60-$70 every time I've seen it. Yeah. So
and no downplay on them, because I mean, guys swear by it, and they sell it that way for a reason, and
right. And
good on those guys.
It's why we have so many different bows and broadheads and arrows and everything. Yep. Like it's it's some of it just comes down to personal choice. There's a lot of, in our area, we have a big fight, and I'm sure we're not the only ones. We have a big fight between Ford, Dodge, and Chevy. You got your Ford people that, hate the other two. And be honest with you, they all get you to where you need to go for the most part. So if either one was as crappy as they say they are, they wouldn't be in existence. Let's just put it that way. But anyways, that's awesome. You have a new product line that is available. But people better act fast, right? Because
it's selling pretty quick. I don't know exactly how many bottles we got left. Hopefully we still have some left when this drops.
Yep.
But I can't guarantee that I still will when this airs, because it's selling pretty good. So,
well, that's good to know, because today is October 30th. So we're right before Halloween. So the season is like the time of year that every whitetail bow hunter in the northern part of the United States is ready for is about to happen.
It's almost sweet November.
We're right on the doorstep of it. And when this airs, will probably be it's going to be mid-November. And I'm going to guess it's probably going to be sometime around November 11th when this will air. So give me about a week turnaround to do all the full editing for it. So by then, hopefully the product's still there. And if it is, get on there and order it, because you're going to want it for your scrapes. So
going into that, a lot of guys will be in that post-rut phase there at that time, that 15th, 16th of November, they're coming out of the hard rut in the post phase. But then you get these bucks that are still seeking, and they're still gonna come to an estrus, a scrape that's been smacked with estrus, a drag that's been drugged behind a guy with it, any of that kind of stuff. They're still susceptible to that all the way into December.
And sometimes it lasts even longer than that, because it depends.
You're not wrong there. I mean, and you could, I suppose you could get it even into the colder months up here. It starts to get a little more difficult towards that January mark. But you get the guys in the South, if they hurry up and get it ordered, they'll have it for their rut in the South in January and February. So because that's it. The 100 bottles is the 100 bottles, and once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone, and hopefully that there'll be more in production for next year.
Yep, we'll increase the amount for next year for sure.
Hey, but well, let's talk about that. Let's talk before we dive into the purpose of this episode. Let's talk about, and I just want to talk a little bit about some of my observations when it comes to the rut, because you mentioned like when this airs is going to be the 11th, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I've had more opportunities at bigger deer later in November than I've had in earlier November, and I don't know if that's just how my property's set up, but for some reason I feel that there's a lot of people that focus a lot in this very first few weeks of of November, or the first week of November, and I've had way more success. And I'm starting. Let's talk somewhere between the 10th through right before Thanksgiving. I've had a lot more success in that time frame, and I don't know if that's because most of the peak breeding has been done, and then now the bucks are now cruising a little bit more to find those last bits of doe that are coming into estrus or that have been missed. You know what I mean?
Yep. I could go with that because to an extent, because my best seasons my kills have been November 6th and November 17th are the two dates that stick out in my mind that I've taken more bucks on those two dates than any other that I can remember in my hunting history. Especially November 17th and the 21st, those two. I do very well on both of those days. And again, late in the year and up here where I'm at, you're past peak rut then.
Yes.
But the last buck I killed here in 2021 was tending a doe. He was actively breeding the doe that I almost shot the doe. We talked about that because she was a doe that blew at me all the time and I was going to shoot her. And she was not blowing at me. She was staring into the bushes, and then I caught him move his head.
Cool.
But that was November 17th, and he was actively breeding then. And then before that, several years, I killed one on the 21st that was actively breeding. So maybe our rut here, the peak of it, doesn't start until a little later. Maybe guys miss it just a little bit. I see the most of my activity in that magic window that everybody looks for, that first week of November. But I seem to kill more bucks later in the month.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the correlation behind that is, but
me either. But it's fun to do.
Oh, it's very, very fun, and
the game is fun.
It is. It's. I've got friends that come in. They're actually getting ready to come in here, and they're going to start hunting here November 4th. They always come in like the first week of November, and I've spent a lot of time hunting with them and just not seeing anything. And I'm sure some of that might actually just be like the actual peak breeding, like lockdown, like most of the bucks are on does, and that very tail end is when it starts to pick up a little bit. And that might be just because the majority of the largest population of the does have been bred, or let me rephrase that, or it's a good timing that they're moving on to their next set. So,
right.
But I will also add this too, like we talked about. We brought it up. Now, January, your guys up as far north as you are, this might not be as relative to you as what I'm about to say, but we also see another spurt of activity in December and also in January, and you will start to see rut activity start to pick up. Like scrapes are hit again, like major scrapes are made, rubs are made, because we get some yearling does that start to come in estrus because they met their weight. And they come in estrus that late. So we do see that, and there's evidence of that in the fall because we've got spots. We have fawns that are still in spots when most of them have either already grown out of them. And I'm talking like October, not pushing November quite yet, but there are some in later in October that still have spots, which were late bred does that gave birth a little bit later. So,
right. And the other thing you'll see that we touched on this in the last episode. What you'll also start to see is in a good place. You'll start to see these fawns born. You'll see spotted fawns in late March, early April. Well, those are the deer mid-April. Those are the deer that are pinned down in that October lull. Those are the does that got bred then during that non-existent October lull.
Mm-hmm.
So there's where you get fawns that you may have high mortality because it's still so cold.
Right.
But they're born and you see them on camera.
Correct.
So there's a direct link somewhere. They start earlier than we think and they go longer than we think.
Yes.
I mean, it's nature. It's the wild. We can't predict it or say what it really is. 100%.
No, we can't. We have a general idea what the gestation period is. We have a general idea.
Well, that part they can do for sure, but
Right.
as far as like the breeding times,
Right.
that isn't. I don't believe that's 100%.
No.
But every animal is different. We know that.
Correct.
So
yeah, that is correct. And it makes sense because you start to see it's a time range, right? They're not all going to be on the same period. Yes, most of the peak breeding they say happens, around depending upon what November it is, but we're going to say that first, second week of November is when most of the peak breeding happens.
Yeah.
Fine, that's based off of fawn studies and roadkill doing fetus studies to kind of get a general idea of how far developed the fetus is. But
yep, for sure.
That's a generalization, and that's, okay, so this is when it most happens. That doesn't mean that's when it all happens. And we all know that, like, you get the early born fawns in April, that had to happen earlier than November. I can guarantee you that because,
that's an October lull, baby, there.
Yeah. I mean, that gestation period, might vary a little bit, but not a lot to be.
I think it's
a couple
pretty
month
close
difference.
within a few days, just like people. It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. Like, I mean, especially if it's going, I'm sure they have miscarriages like any of the other animal does. So, I mean, but at the same time, that's not going to be a viable fetus. Like, you're not going to see the spot. You're not going to see the fetus. You're not going to see the baby running around.
And then what happens to that doe that gets, let's say she does get bred mid-October and during that lull thing, and then guess what? Is she gonna come back into estrus in November and get hit again? Now she's carrying fawns. One's gonna be born middle of April, and the next one's gonna be born June.
Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Can that happen? I mean, is it possible for that to happen even? Because we all know that they can get bred by multiple bucks, and most does that have twins are by different bucks. So
that's very well possible.
You gotta wonder.
That is very well possible. Now,
there's another one that's going to make people go, that guy's nuts.
And they're going to think the same as me because I kind of agree with them. Like, you know what? That kind of makes sense.
I'm not saying that's what happens or it does happen, but can it? Could it? Maybe.
Oh, I think with nature, anything's possible. Coming from the training world, like, we never say there's no such thing as never or always. Like, it's possible. Like, someone's going to be the exception to the rule, and that's the one that's going to catch you off guard. So there's no such thing as always or never. Like, it's, they don't always breed middle of November. They don't never breed in January, or they don't never breed in October. I beg to differ. There's going to be some exceptions to that rule. Is it the majority? Always. No. And that's why most people, and when you try to place, and here's where statistics come in, and when you try to play the odds in your favor, okay, yes, I understand why most people take off that first little bit of November, because statistically speaking, that's usually the best dates. Everybody talks about it. It's how it is. However, maybe it doesn't work out that well for you. Like, you can be sitting there forever and not see anything because maybe it is shifted a little bit, or maybe it was shifted too early and you missed it, or it shifted a little bit too late and you once again missed it, or you're in the middle of like that, peak breeding doesn't mean that's peak chasing. That means that bucks are on does and they're hidden somewhere.
They're breeding, not chasing.
Right. They're breeding, so.
Guys that want success during all of the rut and all of that stuff, they need to catch that chase phase. The rut, the breeding part of the rut is not when you want to catch it.
No, not at all.
You get very little movement then. I mean, you got to be set up right on a spot where a buck's going to pin a doe and breed her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did with that buck I just talked about. I would have never killed him if he'd have pinned her 100 yards away. I'd have never seen her.
Right.
I mean, it's a luck of the draw a lot of the times, and you've got to play your cameras. That's where the cameras come into play, where you can build knowledge through the years of your property. You know that from, like, say, November 5th to November 9th, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get a huge daylight flurry of activity, and you probably should be in your stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it the big buck that you want to have on camera right now? No, probably, maybe not, but that doesn't mean he's not going to come through on the outskirts of that camera. So maybe you should be in your stand.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe, oh darn, all my bucks are nocturnal right now, and then one day you get on there because they're nocturnal and you haven't checked it, or you haven't gotten any pictures or whatever, and then bam, they flip the switch and they're daylight, and guess what? You can't go. Vacation's over.
Right.
So,
and I'm not saying I'm not saying that this is 100% correct, but eventually those bucks are going to, the ones that you're looking for, say like you don't have a lot of pictures of them, they're kind of fringe or whatever, or they've disappeared. If they haven't been harvested by somebody else, then maybe there's a good chance, I truly believe that they're eventually going to come and just do a check of the area just to see if somebody is in estrus, right? But I also know that I also think that if you look historically through the photos, these bucks that have been through a couple of ruts already, you're talking, we're getting into mature deer now. They kind of know when to go, right? They don't expend a lot of energy to be part of the chase. Like they know, okay. So, and not that they have a calendar. They go and look at the date on the calendar. I'm not saying
well,
that,
they got a calendar in their head though. That's the thing.
Yeah. They got this internal like instinct calendar that they have.
Right.
That they know, okay, now
everything there is instinctual. They know what to do. They've kept this species alive for a long time.
Right. Despite our best efforts on some of them. So
that's where I feel like that conversation we had about this October lull and the bucks being pinned down with early estrus does comes in.
Mm-hmm.
They know where those early does are and they go to them. And that's where these deer are at. I'm going to stand on that hill still.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The more
that's
we talk
why
about
these little bucks, these 2-3-year-olds are out running around like crazy and you don't see any big ones. They've already pinned the does that are available to them.
That makes sense.
And the little guys are chasing, looking.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And then the internet lights up and says the rut zone.
No.
That's when I know it's going to be serious in about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
When I first start to see guys on the internet say the rut's on, I go, oh look, I got 2 weeks and it's going to start to get good.
Speaking
of it didn't disappoint. This year was exactly the same.
Well, speaking of the rut being on, I got a funny one for you. So a couple nights ago, actually it wasn't last night, it was the night before. I usually take my dogs out sometime between 11 and midnight for the last walk of the night before we go to bed. And I got a 3D target sitting in my backyard. It's a real wild it's an avid real wild buck. But he doesn't have his antlers on him because they don't pre-drill for the antlers. And I didn't feel like pushing them through the foam, so I just kind of left him looking like a doe. Yeah. Sure enough, there is this 2-year-old 8-point. He's got to be about 2. He's out there trying to mount that target as we're walking out. I'm like, oh, buddy, you're so confused. So
yeah, very confused, pal.
So yes, the rut is on its way in. But I was just hunting last weekend, and I still have bucks that are still bachelored together. I had a spike that was grooming a bigger. I might give him 3.5. And that's a might. He's either a really big 2.5, body wise, or he's a smaller 3.5-year-old deer. And but this smaller buck was sitting there grooming him, and then they like sparred a little bit, and then that bigger buck worked a scrape, and then the little guy got involved in it, and then they walked off together. So like, you're just on the cusp of things happening. So
nice. It's happening though, for sure.
Oh, it is.
So I'm checking some emails while I'm talking to you, and another new item that I'm releasing just popped into my email and Messenger.
So
that's exciting.
It is.
Let's just say the coffee guys are going to be happy. If there's any left by the time this airs, new coffee mugs coming.
New coffee mugs coming.
Coffee mugs.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk some point off air some things too, but
Yeah.
It's exciting, because we did talk a little bit off air. So, there's some exciting things coming. We're not going to sit and talk a lot about it because, it's not time for that yet, but there's some exciting things coming, and people really need to be paying attention to what the Scrape Doctor is doing there in Michigan and beyond. So keep your eyes on that.
I definitely would agree that people need to stay tuned and keep their eyes open and pay attention, because we're coming and we're here. We're here to stay. And it's going to get better and better as we go. We're putting together the trade show lineup for next year, all the shows that we want to attend. We are gonna start in Shipshewana again this year in February. The dates are February 13th, 14th, and 15th. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because they're Amish and they don't do anything on Sunday. So that will be a fantastic show. So if anybody that's listening to this that's close to there wants to come and see us, get some of our stuff. We do great. You already know we do great specials prices for the shows.
Oh yeah.
Stop in and see us. We'll be there the whole weekend. It'll be good stuff.
Can we talk about the bad news though, that we won't be seeing you in Columbus? Or
yeah, we're not. Unfortunately, we're not going to be coming to Columbus this year, or probably any other years, sadly. But
hey, listen,
we will replace that with a different show, possibly in Ohio, maybe. I don't know. There's a few other options. And it's very possible that you may see us in the near future at the Great American Outdoor Show as well in Pennsylvania. So that's a distinct possibility in the very near future.
Well, if that comes to fruition at some point, that might be the first year I go over to that show. So I haven't traversed that far yet to check out the show. Have you guys looked at the Deer Acid Classic that we have every year in the Cambridge area?
We have looked at that, and that one's on our radar as well.
Okay.
So
that's it's
a good show.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah. And we're possibly talking about the Iowa Deer Classic this year.
Okay.
That one's a strong possibility as well. The Illinois Deer and Beer, we're going to do that one in August. And as of right now, that's all I have as far as solid possibilities.
It's still early yet.
The rest are still in the works. We'd like to be at 6 to 8 venues this year to see the people, to bring this magic out. So
no, that's part of the game. Get out there, get your face out there, get your product out there, meet the people, create those connections and things. That's why the shows are great. And I think that's what killed. I think that's what killed the ATA, or is killing the ATA. I don't think they're necessarily quite done yet, but
not quite, but it's close.
But it's getting there, and it's it's because of the different type of
and the shot show.
Yeah, and the shot show.
Sadly, I've never made it to that one, and probably will not go to that one.
Yeah, I've been. I went once.
It's a lot of money and a long ways from home.
Yeah, it is a long ways from home, but I've been out there before. I met a couple of the names in the industry when I went out there, but it was cool. It was good to see some of the stuff, but anyways. Yeah. Well, it's good to know that the business is moving forward. You are adding more products as you move along. I'm interested in that estrus, so I might have to jump on the website as soon as we're done and put an order in for it to get it here in my hands, and hopefully in a week or so I'll have it, and then be able to use it when I'm out doing my rut thing. But no, my luck, I'm getting ready to go out. So we got a cold front coming in on Friday, a pretty good one. Like, it's going to be like a 20-degree difference. So I plan on hunting all day Friday, November 1st. So if I'm lucky, maybe I'll have my buck down by then. So it might not be beneficial for me this year, but it'll definitely be beneficial for me next year and stuff.
Well, you could still make it beneficial and do recon with it and go out and use it and use your cameras to tell you what you want to do or not do.
Yeah, that's also thing I did not think about, because once again, I was thinking more of the end result instead of the learning process behind it. And thank you for changing my mind on that, because I wasn't thinking that way, and I got too far down the rabbit hole of the end result. So
yeah, that's all right though. I mean, got to start at the beginning to get to the end.
That's correct.
I just gotta. The estrus thing for a lot of guys is, I mean, if you tag out before you get it, good for you. That'll be awesome. But then, like you said, you'll still have it for next year, and if you do some recon with it and some stuff, you'll know exactly where and when.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I mean, that's a good idea too. I did not think about that, but I will, yeah, definitely be on the website. Either if it's not today, it'll be tomorrow to get my
gotcha.
order in for that. So, well, anyways, this is going to air mid-November, which means where we left off at, we talked about, what we do for our scrapes in October and moving on
Yep.
into the first part of November. And we'll do a quick recap on that here in a second. But this episode's obviously going to focus on that. We're probably going to be in that peak rut and then moving in through, what most people, as I think you referred to it as the great wait uh, after seasons. So,
Yep.
but let's let's go back to October and coming into November. Let's do a quick recap. So let's focus on what's that October strategy. We hit
Yeah. Well, we're coming in right. I mean, we just passed through the spot where all this, I mean, like I said in the last episode, once the velvet comes off, I get more aggressive than most people will. So we're mid-October. We've already gotten to where guys are starting now. We're past that already. We're full blown by then. And now we're just, because everything in our set is fired up and rolling hard. Now we've got them patterned 2 weeks ahead of everybody else because we've started before everybody else and we've got them conditioned. They want to do this now. And yep, it starts with the younger bucks a lot of the times, but once they fire up, they're fired up and it doesn't stop until they get what they want. So you move past that into where we're at right now. You just continue on with what you're doing. You shouldn't have to do any refreshing right now. Shouldn't have to do anything but add this estrus. If you're using any estrus products, now is the time. From now until mid-November ish. And then, in my opinion, it loses its effectiveness and loses its grandeur, if you will, in the woods until the second estrus kicks in with these does. I'm not going to call it the second rut because it's not. It's just the second estrus that there's a few cruising bucks looking for them. They know they're there.
Right.
So it's not a full rut like before, like November. But and then running into the postseason that's when I go in at the end. We'll go first week of December. Our firearm season goes out the 30th of November here. And then our muzzleloader season, black powder season, that isn't even that anymore. We can use whatever gun we want now, which is silly. So our rifle season goes basically now from November 15th until December 15th. So it's 30 days of rifle hunting basically now with a week off. They give them a week to catch their breath and send us back out. So from that point, at the end of our firearm season, I go in, I do a refresh on all my major communal hubs, the ones that I know are getting constant action every single day with big groups of deer. Those get refreshed aggressively with the scrape magic. And that's it. I'll hit every licking branch that's in one of those situations very heavily, and I walk away, and that's the last time I'll be there until probably, depending on the snow depth and that kind of thing, I won't be back there till the end of March, first week of April. That's it from then.
Right.
There's no need to do anything else after that to the licking branches because the deer will be doing it all on their own then. And it's just a communication thing at that point through the winter that keeps them in the area and keeps that pattern going.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go back to, and then I want to dive into a few of these concepts here. Because that was a good overview. I want to dive into a couple of these concepts here. So let's go back to November, and we've talked about the very beginning of November, and we're down to the peak rut. So your October strategy, your September October strategy is once that velvet starts to come off, you go in, you create you really start to like open up the scrapes, like you really dive in, and we came up with a number. Well, you gave a generalized number, and it could be a lot. So, it could be 75 to 200 different, scrape sites that we've created.
Yeah.
Depending on the property, how it sets up and things like that. So we've done that, but then we've kind of just left them, right? We started them, we got them opened up, we started them, and we allow them to cook there through October. And then all of a sudden November comes in, right? And now the rut's starting to be there. And and you brought up in the last episode that at this point, this is when, like, if I'm in the woods and either I'm walking in or I'm walking out, what are you doing?
You walk by, you smack it with a spray it once. If you're going to do it, that's when you do it, as you walk by, as a freshener for that curiosity peak. It piques the curiosity at that point because they go, oh, he's back. Is he back? Is that him? And then they come on a line. We're finding out more and more stuff now about this great magic. We got a guy that on TikTok, Tony Washnock, was switching all his stuff over. He's one of these guys that is, once the rut starts, he switches everything from what we're doing, like with the scrape magic on the licking branches and all that, to straight estrus drippers. That's what he uses. However, he was out the other day and was in a location near some vetch, and he could hear, he was going to hang a rope is what it was. He found a bedroom is what he said. It was the buck's bedroom. So he only had those ropes that he'd already taken down. So he hung one up and he sprayed it with scrape magic. And he said he sprayed it an ungodly amount of times, like 25 times. And when he sprayed it, he could hear what he said sounded like trees falling behind him in the vetch, because he was readjusting his camera. And when he turned around, there was a buck charging him, and the wind was blowing into that. It was carrying that scrape magic into there, and it attacked him, basically. It didn't get him. It stopped short. And after we're done with this, I will send you the video of his reaction to that.
I'd probably be working my way out of the woods, and I'd probably have to go clean myself after that, to be honest with you.
He immediately went and placed an order for more scrape magic. That's what he did.
I'm sure he did. That's insane.
And guys are getting it. We're now, spray it on your boot and walk in. The deer are going to follow it. I mean, we're using it it's becoming a more and more and more and more versatile scent beyond the licking branch. So we're going beyond the licking branch. Let's call it that.
Yeah. Well, we talked before about using it as a rub starter too.
Yes. And we've got several. Yeah. I've just got a video actually from, I do believe it's from Ohio, a big mature buck, 5-year-old buck, on one of our rub start that we started with scrape magic. Didn't even scratch the bark on the tree. The guy just sprayed it, and there's a huge buck rubbing it.
Nice.
Well, a guy from Ohio might not say it's a huge buck, but a guy from northern Michigan says he's huge.
Oh, that's all subjective anyways. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
I know he's well over 160. So that's huge.
That's a huge deer. I'm from Ohio. That's a huge deer.
Right.
That I don't,
so yeah, again, and maybe that's again, beyond the licking branch, it makes perfect sense because we're going way beyond the licking branch with this.
Hey, not to drop any dimes or anything, but that might be a good catch line for you, or a good tagline.
You'll probably see it before the end of the week in a post or something.
That's a good tagline. Beyond the licking branch.
It sure is.
Heck, that might even be a good name of just a series that you could do. Anyways, no one steal that. By the way.
Yeah, thanks for that idea. Now there you go.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I heard it here first.
Don't steal it. So beyond the licking branch. That's kind of catchy. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like in this November, but you're really pushing for that aggressive behavior of the bucks, right?
Yes.
Anytime we're going to introduce a scent that's kind of buck related, we're looking to really push that testosterone and enraged buck. And let's be real, like there you have your aggressive bucks, like we talked last time, and you have your passive bucks.
Yep.
The passive bucks might be curious. They might come in to check, but they're passive for a reason. They're not going to fight, right? They're not looking for a fight. If they can slip in, slip out, do their thing and be done, they're happy. Like they're going to do their best to avoid a fight. And then, but you have your aggressive ones who that's what they want. they're cooking. They're ready to do whatever it takes to do what they came to do that day. And anybody that gets in their way is going to have a bad day. And it sounds like sounds like your buddy who was using the scrape magic, had that buck charge him, had the exact scenario play out.
He was about to have a bad day.
Yeah, that was an aggressive buck that was looking for, hey, who's in my house?
Yeah, and it's not just the bucks that we're creating that aggression in and that kind of dominance assertion. The does do it too. We get the does fired and angry like that as well, shoving the subdominant deer around.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So it's
absolutely.
very easy and quick to pick out who's going to become the bully of the group, because
Mm-hmm.
those are the ones that are triggered by that smell.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
Those are just as bad about it. And to be quite honest with you, like, I think it's harder to kill a really mature doe on your farm than it is some of the mature bucks, because she's been there for so long.
Well, not only that, but the does control everything.
Oh, they do. 100%.
You know, if that doe comes out into there and starts blowing, that mature buck ain't coming.
And he's like, yep, nope, not happening.
He may still be there and he may not run off, but he ain't coming out.
No.
Not while you're there in the daylight, I promise.
Mm-mm.
So guess what? She should take one to the dome or to the chest or something.
Time for her to go.
Yeah, you blew.
Yeah. Well, I had one.
All you got to do.
Unfortunately, I had one doing that to me on opening day, but I'd already shot her traveling buddy. So my tag was filled for the day. I'm like, yeah, you're lucky.
Oh, you guys have a 1 a day thing, huh?
Well, it's not a 1 a day thing technically. So the way ours work is we can shoot more than one deer a day. However, we're supposed to have tagged the deer already prior to shooting another one. So
see here, we can just shoot at will.
Yeah, we're and someone might correct me on that, but my understanding of it is that we technically have to have that deer tagged before we can shoot another. And
interesting.
When you're videoing, that's not a good look. So
no, ask Chris Brackett.
Yeah, people question things like that. So, but she got to walk, and I'm like, we'll see you some other time. But
yeah, you'll be back.
You'll be back.
They always come back.
You'll be back.
So we go from like we were talking about that aggression thing right now. We're coming into this sweet November. It's time. We're there. Finally there. And like I said, then we'll go from now till mid-November. Things are kind of status quo. We're not doing a whole lot because the deer are doing it themselves. Let's be honest. I mean, they're in the scrapes. They're doing the rubs. They're ripping down these licking branches. So if we walk by one, give it a shot, give the scrape a shot of Estrus RX, move on our way. You're just firing that scrape up again. I mean, is it necessary? Probably not, but it sure is fun to watch what happens. And the lead at this point, you want to hunt, so you want to hunt. You know what I'm saying? You've set the stage. Now it's time to reap the rewards. You've already done all the work. Now it's time to sit down and kill one. You've done the work. Now get your reward.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a 100-inch 8-point, a doe, a spike, a 4-point, 190-inch buck, I don't care. Get your reward. You did the work. You earned it. Now go get it. Take it. It's yours.
100%. 100%. That's a lot of work too. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize the kind of work that goes into this. Like, especially people who are really passionate about this. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Some people may not be big into the food plot. Some are not. That's a lot of work there. Running scrapes, like, your system.
And that's the thing. It's a system. It's not just a one mock scrape.
Oh, yeah.
I don't do one mock scrape. I don't have one rope hanging in the woods. I'm not that guy. I've created a whole system around my products.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say I've created a product to fit my system is what I've done.
Correct.
And it's a guy that has one rope hanging probably won't have the same exact results that I have. He's going to get results, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not going to have, unless he hits that sweet spot, that exact sweet spot, he's not going to have 50 deer a day in a scrape.
No.
He may have 4 or 5, and maybe that's enough for him. That's fine, but I'm not satisfied with 4 or 5. I want the whole herd. I want them all.
Mm-hmm.
I want to inventory every deer on my property in 1 or 2 scrapes. I want to be able to see every deer come to those 2 scrapes. And the only way to do that is to make them communal. And the only way to make them communal is to pick the right spot to do that. And truthfully, the only way to do that is to have the experience and the knowledge to pick that spot.
Yeah.
Dumb luck will get you 1 or 2 every now and then, but consistency is not dumb luck.
No, it is not. And then sometimes it's just moving. Sometimes you can find that spot and I'm just kind of spitballing here, but when you go out and you start to branch out, like you have like and I'm not saying you specifically, but you would go out and you create other scrapes, and those are kind of scrapes that kind of catch the attention of, you may not be at the communal spot, or that may not be the communal spot, but it leads them back to where that communal spot is, or to a new communal spot that they're going.
Well, that goes right along with
over.
what you and I have talked about on the other episodes.
Yes.
That those are the leading scrapes. Those are the satellite scrapes that lead them back.
Yes.
To the location where you want them.
And that
this is the scrape where you want them to be, because if they end up there, that means they've either passed one of your stands, or they're on their way to one of your stands on the way out of there, on the way out, whichever.
Yeah, and that's the importance of like the multiple scrapes that we've talked about before.
The mistake a lot of guys make is they make these scrapes, they get these scrape lines, even if they're natural ones, and they create a few mocks of their own, and they find that communal scrape. They put a camera there and they're like, oh my God, look at all these deer. And then they make the mistake of going in and throwing a ladder stand up in 20 yards from that communal scrape. And guess what? It ain't a communal scrape anymore.
Nope.
Stay away from them, boys. Get off of them a little ways, 100 yards, 50 yards, hunt the approach, hunt the exit of those communal scrapes. If you sit on them, you're going to run the deer off. They won't use them when you're there. Well, they'll use something else to avoid that area. I'm not a big, I don't worry. I'm not the guy that says, oh, human intrusion. I'm not that guy. I'm in the woods a lot. We've talked about that. I spend a lot of time on my properties. But I'm also smart enough to know deer are creatures of habit. And if you change that habit and spend too much time in that space, they're going to leave and find a new place to be. That communal scrape needs to be a pass through for you as well. Do not spend a lot of time hanging out in there. Do what you got to do and move on.
Well, that makes sense. Like, okay. So let's talk about, this is your living room, right? So and I'm talking to the listeners. So you have your living room. You've lived here for 5 years this is a house you've lived in for 5 years or more, right? You have your living room. All of a sudden, someone comes in and puts a new stand in that living room. Like, and I'm not talking about a tree stand. I'm talking about like, they put a new coffee table, they put a new end table, they put something in there, right? It's not as huge as a couch. It's not as huge as a brand new 80-inch TV. It could be even as small as a new lamp in that living room. Guess what? You're going to notice it, right?
Immediately.
You're going to notice it immediately, and you're like, who did that? And the first
person, who's going to notice it before you?
It's going to be your wife.
Your wife.
It's going to be the wife of the family, or
right.
And she, once again, this is the does. They're going to notice it. They're like, hey, that's not supposed to be here.
And she's blowing at you then, because guess what? Your wife would be yelling at you. So now this doe is blowing.
Yeah, especially if it's that leg lamp from the Christmas story. She ain't going to be happy.
Correct.
She ain't going to be happy.
And that's what that tree stand is that you've just popped up 20 yards from that communal scrape. Don't do that. If you have that sweet spot and you are pretty confident that it's going to turn into a communal scrape, when you start the scrape, put up the stand then. Don't wait. Do it at the same time or within a day. That way the stand and the scrape are the same age. They're there together. The stand becomes part of the landscape.
Yes.
It isn't any different than setting your blind or your stand a month ahead of season to let the deer get used to it.
Correct.
Which is also another subject.
It is a big subject, but I agree with
it. It is.
I agree with you though. That's
so my advice to all these guys running mock scrapes that are running a system of scrapes and not just a scrape is don't hunt on top of your communal scrapes. Hunt the satellite scrapes, the leading scrapes, get off of that big one, catch them coming and going. They're gonna. If you've done it right and the pattern is there, they're going to come and go. They have to, and they're going to use the same trails very consistently. 90% of the time, they're not going to deviate from their travel patterns because you created that, remember? So they have to do what you told them. So use your knowledge that you've built this pattern and you've built this system for your deer, and that you see it happening, but yet you still go in and do the wrong thing at the end. You can't close the deal. You have to be a closer to make this scene. And then what happens when you don't close it? It's the scrape's fault. They blame the mock scrape every time. You know, and then whose fault is it after that? The guy that provided them the stuff for the mock scrapes, his fault.
Mm-hmm. And then
my deer were there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then they all ran away. Huh. Wonder what happened with that 25-foot muddy tower blind that you just put up over there with a hut on top.
I wonder what the variable was that changed that.
Wonder what could have happened. Wonder what changed. So anyway, yeah, that's the one thing I can say to guys. If that's the only thing I say that someone listens to for the next 6 weeks, stay off those communal scrapes when you hunt them. Hunt them, but do it from a safe distance.
But it's so tempting. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's so
gotta wait. It's just like you can't shoot a big buck if you're shooting small ones, right? Same concept.
It's so tempting.
Same concept.
Hey, we're visual creatures. We see that like, oh, there's a bunch of deer here, and so you hang up on it. You hope that it's going to work, but you know, and
yep.
It
rarely works.
It does, especially if you do something that drastic. I think.
Yes, I mean these guys that do the hang and bang saddle guys, they have an advantage over you that way.
Yes, and that's why I do it.
You know, the saddle guys aren't. There's a big lump on the tree, but on a saddle you can go up 8 feet if you need to and hide in a tree. In the foliage or in the bush or whatever you got at 8 feet or 10 feet or whatever you got to do.
Right.
So yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice for this episode is stay off those communal scrapes when it's time to hunt, which is this magic first week of November, obviously, and moving forward.
Well, it makes it. I mean, also the guys who hunt off the feeders, like there's a lot of times like. So I understand it's a destination, you're trying to bring deer there, but that's the thing. Like you're in there all the time, they're not going to come in there. Like if you're looking for a certain age class of deer, and I'm a firm believer, and I'll say it, and I know some people argue with me, and I'm okay with that, but I do not like trying to hunt a mature buck over any type of bait, period. Not because it doesn't work, not because I think it's an ethical thing. It's because for me, it doesn't work. Like I've never have been successful at attracting a mature buck during legal shooting hours to a bait site ever.
Right.
I know people have done it.
Yeah, they don't. I get it.
It just doesn't, but you're sitting here hitting that bait site all the time. It's the same thing. You're sitting over this communal scrape or you're adding something new to that the deer are not used to. And they know it's there. They know it's there. And that might have been that, or it might be a good food source. So so they're going to shift somewhere else, or they're not going to visit it when it's time for you to be there, right? They're going to be there some other time. It's going to be dark. It's going to be whatever it is. And it might be in the middle of the night at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Because remember, they don't, that they shift their pattern because of that. Because believe it or not,
everything changes.
They're wired to survive. That's what
they are for sure. For sure.
That's what they want to do. Is they want to survive. So
trail camera pictures are coming in as we speak.
You got to love it. My camera went off this morning on a couple of spots, but I've moved most of my cameras off of actual scrapes now, and I moved them onto more travel corridors.
It's noon straight up, and there is a 4.5-year-old buck standing at a poison ivy right now.
That sounds about right.
I just got the picture. Video.
That sounds about right. And he's probably, if I had to guess, that guy's pretty close to, or whoever this is pretty close to that buck's bedding area.
That buck spends a lot of time at that poison ivy, and then we will see him again in about 25 minutes at Adjust a Rope Squared. And 2 hours from then, we'll see him back at that poison ivy, and then back at that rope. He doesn't leave that area. Him and another 5 or 6-year-old that's in there are hanging around. They won't leave. There must be a hot doe there. They keep staying there. They've been there for 4 or 5 days, and they just won't leave.
Sounds like they're killable deer if that's what you're looking for.
Both of them are very killable. The guy that's there, though, does not have the time to get there. He can't hunt right now. It's driving me crazy. I want to go down there and kill either one of them. And
secure, I'll do it for you.
I said, if you're having that much trouble, I'm free for about 4 hours tomorrow. Yeah. That's about all it would take, truthfully.
Yeah. That's where I'm blessed with the job I have. Despite the headaches that I have a pretty flexible schedule to where I can get away to go do stuff like that. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, But and I understand certain people, their responsibilities come first, and I'm not telling you not the responsibilities don't come first. But there are a certain section of people who like to whine, and I think we talked about this, not directly on this topic itself, but kind of in when it comes to success, that people want, oh, it must be nice, it must be nice.
Yeah.
Here's like, I've built my life around this, right? Like, I've made decisions based upon this, and I heard Cody DeQuisto say this, like, I've made life choices because of I want to hunt. Like, I
Yep.
don't like my life choices have been made because of that. And I look at some of my friends, even some of friends close to me, they're like, oh, it must be nice to be able to get out and do stuff. I'm like, what have you done to build your life around this? Like, you don't, like, if you want this, like, you can do it. I understand some things are going to get in the way, like, life happens, but like, I've made personal choices that allow me to do these things. And if it
Yep.
was that important to you, you would have done the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, or things, or there are more important things. Like, there are more important things to me than hunting deer. They are 100%. But the things that I can work with, I've made personal choices in life decisions based to allow me to do these things.
Relationship decisions
Oh yeah.
are based on this.
Oh yeah.
Man, it's
Oh,
it's the people sometimes people just don't understand the
no,
commitment. If you're going to do this for real, there's a true commitment to it.
I am very blessed to have the wife, to have my wife, because she knows, this time of year, she jokes with her friends. She's like, it's about that time of year I'm single again. So because I'm out and about, I've dialed back. When I was younger, I used to hunt like a lot. And I've dialed back a good bit. And to be quite honest with you, I've been more successful now. And I don't know if that's just experience. So maybe it's experience. Maybe it's the fact that I'm not in the woods as much. I don't know what the
Both.
true.
It's both.
It probably is. And you're probably right. But I'm very blessed.
You picked the right days to hunt, and before it was you hunted every day. It didn't matter the day.
Yeah. And you're 100% there. But
I think I just read something from what's his name? Dan Infault.
Yep. The hunting beast.
I just read something from him about that. When we're young, we hunt every single waking moment that we can. We're in the woods, so we are very successful. We kill and we kill and we kill. And then as we get older, we hunt less, but seem to still continue to kill as much as we did then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because we pick the right days. We put ourselves in the right position. We're smart enough to know better.
Right.
So that's kind of where I think that's at. And as far as it goes back to the whole patience thing.
Mm-hmm.
The scrapes, we talked about that. You want to do it because, oh my God, look at all the deer there. It's just a lot of decisions have to be made along the way. And some guys aren't going to make the right decisions. And they're always going to say it must be nice. You're so lucky. It's just the nature of the beast, I do believe.
It is. But luck had nothing to do with it. Like, yes, I've had some opportunities and they've panned out for me. Not all the opportunities I've tried to do has panned out for me, but I doesn't mean that I quit, and I continued on, and I was able to get the right opportunities to pan out to where I can go do what I want to do most of the time. I can't do it all the time. Like, I'm not totally free, right? The hunting industry does not pay me to go out and shoot stuff. And I'm like, well, it must be nice.
The hunting industry truly doesn't pay anyone to go out and shoot stuff. There are a very limited number of people that are actually getting paid to do that.
That's
most of these TV guys are paying to do what they're doing.
Correct.
So it costs a lot of money to be a TV guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why YouTube's become so popular and all of that. And that's why we talked about off air. That's why everybody's been so conditioned to 60-second sets. Shorts. TikTok puts you on 2 minutes. That kind of thing. Everything's a short video now.
Well, just imagine what that's doing to actual hunting culture in itself, right? What's it doing for our patients? Especially people who are new to it. And I don't, to follow me down this real quick, and then we'll move on. But if you remember like the old television shows, like, and they're still the same way. But if you go back like Primos and things like that, I grew up on Primos, like those were I would consider them like they were like my Saturday and Sunday morning babysitters, right? I watch these
Yeah.
guys religiously. If you watch their shows, right, and like it's kill, 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 a little bit of talk, kill some more, a little bit of talk, kill some more, right? Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that, right? I understand the premise. Like I get why they're doing what they're doing. Like so I'm not complaining. But if you look at that and you have no other mentor like myself, like you have no one around you to kind of teach you what the reality of that is, and then you go out in the woods and you expect that in within 20 minutes you're going to kill a deer. That's not how this goes at all.
Right.
It's like the today's CSI effect. Everyone, coming from law enforcement, everyone thinks I should be able to solve your crime within 30 minutes or less. Like that's not how this works.
Right. We're not on an episode of CSI, man.
Right. That's not how this works. But and I think also, and I've heard somebody talk about the whole YouTube thing, like when now you see more of the kind of the realism of like the day by day of the hunting public and a few others out there. They show a day by day, like they're not successful. I would tell you, they've gotten better. I mean, that's bad for me to say it that way. I think they have improved their skills to where they're a little bit more successful, more consistently, but at the same time, like their earlier shows and stuff, like there's like 80% of their videos was what they did on a day to day out in the woods with very little success.
Right.
And
they had a whole lot of B-roll and not a lot of killing.
Right. And I think that sets more of a good precedent to what to expect when you're hunting.
It's what grew them and made them as popular as they are because it was everyday stuff that everybody was already doing.
Yes.
And then success at the end, it was even better.
Yes, absolutely. And
I mean, I get it. I mean, and maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe they set themselves up for failure on purpose to build what they built.
That's an interesting theory.
It's probably wrong, but I thought I'd put it out there.
That's an interesting theory. Well, it's different, right? And it was different at the time. Now you see more and more of it, but it's how it goes. Like as soon as somebody does something, it seems to catch on. Someone has to copycat it.
Why don't you tell me how many hemp ropes you see now?
How many what?
How many hemp ropes you see on the market now?
Right.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Seems like every major company now is selling one.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's that, like you said, competition breeds competition.
It's what makes the world go round. It's what,
yeah.
It's what keeps us, as long as we talked a little bit, it was like healthy competition. We need it. Right. And that's what helps keeps things improving. Right. But it doesn't mean we can't be friends, to get along with each other, but there needs to be some type of competition to keep pushing things forward. We don't want to get nasty about it. There's no reason to get nasty over things, but we definitely want, there has to be something that inspires us to do better, right? There's got to be that next person who's doing a little bit better than us to inspire us to do better. So we keep going back and forth. It's growth, right? And I said this before, not an episode between you and I, but like the problem is a lot of us is just like, there's some of us, we just want it to be finite. Like, so, all right, I'm successful. Good. Now I'm done. Right. I don't, or I've reached this level. I'm done. No, that's not the case. Like, it's a continuous lifelong thing. We just want it to be one and done, but anyways. So so November is one of those times we're out there, we're hitting those scrapes, we're hunting them. You mentioned stay out of those communal scrapes. So let's kind of shift out of that peak rut period, and we're coming into the next stage of this. And one of the things you brought up in this next stage was like you only focus on the communal scrapes at this point, right? Or maybe I jumped too far ahead, but this is something that stuck that you said earlier. I wanted to cycle back to. So I think you answered this question in what we just got done talking about, but let's nail it down again. Obviously, if you following along with your system, with the process that you're promoting, right? We have, a lot of scrapes out in the woods, right?
Yep.
And what you're saying is I'm probably a good majority of those I'm not coming back to, but I'm focusing on these specific ones.
Yep.
Did I hear that correct?
You did. These are the ones that I call the leading scrapes. These are the ones that are leading these deer where you want them, which is past your stands, past your blinds, and into those communal scrapes. You want them to travel those same corridors all the time. So that pattern has been set. Now you're refreshing the travel is what you're doing. If you walk by, you're going to walk by it, spray it. That way you're continuing to lead these deer through there, and the pattern will carry on after the peak rut. It'll continue because it's a natural thing now.
Okay. When so how would you say, like, how would you close the scrape out then? Like, what would be your final step? Like, and it's not that we're necessarily like seasons come to an end, we're getting ready to go into that great weight. What is the scrape doctor
We're
doing?
at that point, like I said, I'll go in at the end of my season, whether it's at the very end of December. And again, up here, it depends on our snow, how much snow we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go in and give everything that I think is important as far as the communal locations and anything that I want to continue on through the winter. I want the leading scrapes to continue on, and some of the satellite scrapes that are a little further outside of that, I'll go and hit those, and then I'll hit my leading scrapes, and then I'll hit my communals, and then I'm gone. I'm done until like I said before, until spring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out until March to April, somewhere at the very beginning of April, depending on the snow again.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're in the woods looking for sheds, and it's time to start scouting around for some other stuff. So we may go back in March, and we'll light everything up again. Then at that point, I probably will hit the bulk of what's already been made from the year before. And I will look for where they've opened new scrapes in the meantime, because like we said, they open those December, January. You'll see scrapes blow open in the snow and rub. So I'll look for those late winter ones, and some of those I'll take them and start them back up in the spring. And a lot of times those will turn into a communal scrape by fall.
Okay.
That's one of those locations that I will pick sometimes and turn it communal. I will work it and work it and work it until I get those deer to continually hit that scrape, and it becomes a communal location.
Okay. And I'm kind of, I've done like very, very little amount of mock scrapes. So I'm kind of like really new to the whole like big premise of it. But what I'm seeing, one of the big differences about what you're promoting or what you're saying is that in my area or my belief prior to meeting you and talking to you and these things was that mock scrapes, rut only, you did nothing else. Like if you had anything up in the woods, it came with you when the season was done. Like you didn't leave anything up. But you're saying, no, leave those up because they're going to keep using those.
Well, right, because at the end of the season, if you take all your ropes out that you've put up and all of that, if you take all that away, you've disrupted that pattern. You've taken away what they'll not go there. They'll come, they'll show up. You'll see it even on your cameras. I've watched it myself. They show up with this dazed and confused look on their face, don't know what they're doing. They're like, hey, where'd that thing go? Well, they might show up one more time after that, but after that, it's over. You've destroyed that location. I've watched it happen over and over and over. They abandon it and they'll go down the way a little ways and make another scrape on something convenient for them. So you don't want to take it away because you disrupt your own pattern that you worked awfully hard to get those deer to do what you want when you want. And now to go in and just take it all away is silliness. There's no reason to bring a hemp rope home with you. What are you going to do with it? Throw it in your shed?
Right.
That makes no sense. Leave it in the woods and let it do what you bought it to do, which is attract deer.
So what I'm hearing you say, and it's not necessarily like this is going to be very overgeneralization, is that people need to shift from short term to start thinking long term.
Absolutely.
Like get that short term like event done, right? Get that out of your mind and worry more about the long term of what you're going to be able to
Correct.
do and learn over time.
Yep. And what we hear a lot too is, I don't have time to run mock scrapes year round. What? You start the mock scrape at turkey season when you have the time to go turkey hunting. You start a mock scrape.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back out there again in May when you're picking mushrooms again.
Mm-hmm.
You can refresh it then.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can leave it sit until July, August when you start thinking about deer again.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go refresh it again. And now look, you're right back in there, and the deer haven't changed their patterns because you left the pattern there. You didn't take it with you. You have time The deer are making the time for you. You're already there. You're what in my mind, and I don't take this the wrong way. It's not directed at anyone, but all those are to me in my mind. I hear excuses. I don't have time. I can't. But then I hear them say, "Well, it must be nice." That you're so lucky. Again, we're right back to that.
Right.
Do the work, get the reward. Take the risk, get the reward. Same kind of deal.
Yeah, I think some people have the idea that they got to be out there every week to refresh. Every week, I got to be out there.
Well, and that's the hunting industry has programmed people to think more is better. Spray it, pour it, dump it. No, make the deer come and do it for you.
Yeah.
Stop pouring money into some company's pocket that couldn't give a rip about you.
Amen.
I mean, yeah, you got to buy my stuff too, but I promise you, if you call the phone number on my products, you're talking to me, not some lady at a switchboard saying, "Where may I direct your call?"
That speaks a lot too. That really does. And I think that's a part of a culture shift that's hopefully is going to happen. Your business is growing, and that's awesome to hear. And that means more and more people are starting to, be enlightened into do I dare call it the new way of mock scrapes? But they're getting enlightened
not the new way. No, not the new way, Sean. I don't think that's probably right. How about the new age of mock scrapes? Because mock scrapes are the same as they've always been. It's just a new approach is all it is. An updated version of the same old thing with better results.
I like it. We'll call it the new age of mock scrapes. And here we are. We're on the cusp of it.
It's just, it's coming now. I've talked to some pretty big names in the industry who are pretty surprised by what we're doing. And that's always good when you have that kind of reaction out of those kind of people.
The ones who've seen it all and done it all. Yeah. If you can.
Yeah. The ones who've been there, done that.
Yep.
And then they still go, "Oh, wow, that's a great idea." It must be a pretty decent idea then.
Mm-hmm. I guarantee you those guys and gals are successful though.
Yes.
Because they're open to learn and continue to grow. It's the ones
and that's exactly it. They haven't closed the book. They're still adding pages.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I've never said that I'm the smartest guy ever, because I'm not. I'll learn from a lot of guys. I learn something new every day from somebody different all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not, you're closed-minded and you're stuck in a rut and you're never going to move along. You're going to stay stuck in that rut. Open-mindedness and acceptance to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can be taught. You know what I mean? Don't be uncoachable. That's, you go on a hunt, don't guide your guide. They're the guide for a reason. Suggestions are one thing.
Right.
I take lots of suggestions. Some of them are great and some of them make me scratch my head. But I'm sure a lot of stuff I say makes people scratch their head, and that's okay.
No, that's perfectly fine. Hey, well, look at it, so how long have you been in the woods? How long have you been hunting?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see. Well, remember when I told you I made my first mock scrape in 1985?
Yeah.
Well, it was probably 4 years before that. So 1981-ish is when I started.
So we're pushing, we'll say 40 years.
I was around 10 years old when I picked up a recurve bow and started to hunt deer.
We'll just round it to 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So here's how to look at this. If you're having a hard time with what James is explaining, do you really have 40 years experience as a bow hunter, or let's say as a deer hunter, or do you have 5 years experience repeated 8 times because you quit learning at 5 years? I know everything, or is it 2 years repeated 20 times, right? Because you've learned at 2 years, you know everything you need to know about deer hunting, and you're not open to new suggestions. Or do you really have a true 40 years, or whatever your years are, right? It's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Do you really have that? I've been hunting for 20 years. Have you? Or have you hunted for 3 years and just repeated that multiple times because you closed yourself off to learn anything new? So absolutely. I show that we can bring that fast forward to,
I show all this new stuff that I'm doing and all this stuff I'm doing to my dad, who's 85 years old, who in 1985 told me I was crazy and this stuff would never work, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to now, he's 85 years old. He's looking at this after I've done this for 40 years. We've come this culmination of all of this stuff. And he looks at it and he goes, this is pretty amazing. I have to admit, I would have never thought that it was this effective. I mean, if you can sway the old timers who swore against any of this snake oil and they say it's good and it works, you're good. You've done it. I mean, you've done what you should.
Yep. Red flannel, blue jeans, and a Pall Mall. That's how they killed their deer.
Yep. You got that right. Pat's blue ribbon.
Hey, listen, and that's amazing. And yes, I sometimes it's that right there, that statement you just said, or that acknowledgement from your father. I think that for some of us, that means more than any acknowledgement you get from anybody else.
That validation means more than any industry standard or anybody in the industry saying anything to me, truthfully.
Absolutely.
The validation from my own dad matters way more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, that's what matters. He's watched me struggle and fight and do everything I've done to get where I am now. He's seen it all. You know, these guys that are on the inside in the industry that pat you on the back and say whatever it is they say to you, good job, blah, blah, blah. They don't know. They may have known me for 5 or 6 years, 4 years, a decade, whatever, but it's not 50 years. You know, they haven't watched every move I've made and sleepless nights, and you know how it works.
Yeah.
Start a small business. It's good for your health.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Sometimes you question it, but you're like, eventually, eventually if you keep pushing, you listen, you're humble enough to listen, to make the changes you need to, you at one point you will be successful. You might need to rename it a couple times, but hey, listen, it is what it is.
And it comes, and it will come. People just have to, I mean, you can't give up and you can't quit. That you can't do, or you won't succeed that way.
No.
You know, and again, back to that, to start a small business. I mean, you've got to have thick skin. You have to be able to take negativity, because it always comes. You can't make 100% of the people 100% happy. You can't do it. And I really don't want to do it. I don't have any real desire to please the whole world. People can say negative things about our products if they'd like, about the ineffectiveness, but I've got however many trail camera videos and pictures now to prove otherwise. So you go ahead and say it doesn't work. I'll give you a picture that says it does, or a video. You tell me it won't attract a mature buck, I'll send you 50 videos and pictures to prove that they will. I mean, I got answers to all the questions at this point. We're 18 months old now. This is our second full season, and we're legitimately crushing it. We are crushing it now.
And I wish you all the best, and I'm happy to hear these things for you. You know, ever since the day I met you from Columbus, you know, I've dove into the Scrape Doctor, you know, the lifestyle, the culture, and everything, and it's been a great learning process, and I can't thank you enough for the time you've carved out, you know, multiple days to sit and talk to me for over an hour on a podcast, and the conversations that you and I have had continually over in, you know, Instagram Messenger and a few other resources. Like, I can't thank you enough for that. Really speaks to who you are as a person and what you're trying to promote, and what you say is what you mean. You know, you're not in folks, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, when, like, I've talked to, you know, James off the air quite a bit. You know, most of it's through Instagram Messenger, but he's always responded. He's always answering. And what you hear here is what you get. Like, that's James. That's who he is. So this isn't an act. This isn't, and I'm being very forefront, and I'm very thankful to have the connection like I do with James, and really look forward to, you know, as I continue to grow in this as well. So I just want to make sure you knew that. So,
well, I certainly appreciate that and all of that. And I also am excited for you and your progression into this, because since we met in Columbus, I mean, your mind is open. I mean, your mind was open from that moment when we first started talking. And I mean, it's the right way to learn how to do this. And I'm lucky to have people like you and all of the customers that we have. Truly, we don't have any bad people around us. I mean, I'm trying hard to keep this as positive as we can and keep things moving forward. The negative, there's enough negativity in this industry and in the world in general. Uh, I mean, just be nice to people. You know what I mean? You don't be a jerk. Just be nice. Let's all get along and let's play nice. Let's make mock scrapes and kill big bucks. I mean, they're all waiting for a ride in the truck.
That's true. We spend too much time divided, and trust me, that's what people want us to be, is divided. So it's easier to defeat us. Not to quote Pink Floyd, but divided united we stand, divided we fall. So
you're not wrong about that. Oh, let's give a little update while we're right here, real quick. I just thought about it again.
Yeah.
So right now, on the 30th of October, Scrape Doctor's buck tally is at 12 that I'm aware of, that I've been made aware of. We have 12 bucks that have hit the dirt, 3 off one rope location in Ohio.
Nice.
And the Scrape Doctor is headed to that location in the next few days to hopefully put number 4 in the truck off that same location. And these are mature deer. These are not 2-year-olds.
I would say fingers crossed, but you don't need to luck. You're going to do it. I know you are.
I just don't. I'm not sure, honestly, that luck is one of those things I need on this one. We've built this pattern over. It's taken us. This site has been set up and running now. We've been running this one for over a year, and the consistency is now enough that we can set our watches by it.
And that's what you need.
Yep. And and this deer, we just now need him to show up a couple more times, and he won't show up anymore after that. It'll be the end of him.
Well, you feel free to disagree when I say this, but I think you're coming at a good time, because you're getting to that point now. You're getting close to that point to where his activity is not going to be as on the clock as it is right now. Because once those first does really do start coming into estrus, like, his mind's on something else. He knows what he's doing, but he'll eventually come back to that. But it's not going to be as regular as what it is now.
To your point on that, I don't disagree with you. Except for I disagree with you, because we have his estrus does there. We've got them pinned on that location. We've set that up to hold those deer there. They're not wandering. The does aren't. We've got them on camera. You'll see. I'll show you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once we close the deal, once I go down and close this deal and we're all done, I'll send you all the lead up stuff so you can see. And I think you'll be surprised. I think you'll be pretty surprised.
I probably will be.
Done here.
I know,
because we have turned this into something that people said can't be done. We've done something people have said for years can't be done. You can't do it. We've done it. You just got to do it one more time, and then I'll know.
And I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you 100%. I know you're gonna do it, and I look forward to that update from you. And, hopefully I look forward to some future episodes with you, as well as Scrape Doctor continues to grow and stuff. And we start diving down some more not rabbit holes, but new directions and new ventures.
Well, and let's be real. We can branch out off of this stuff now that we've talked about in the last 3 episodes and talk about some of the finer points of what I'm doing with my system and the things that we do. This could be something really fun.
Oh, it's going to be something fun. It is definitely going to be something fun, because I'm always open to learn new things, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. So,
you just said the words. We already have a name for the series. We can just move on with it.
Beyond
the licking branch.
I'm gonna trademark that as soon as I can. No, I'm kidding. I'll leave that up to you. I'm kidding, by the way. But yeah,
that would be great. It's a great one to trademark. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it is. And hey, listen, this is your baby. I'll let you do what you need to do. And I'm more than happy to be subservient to that one. So I'm an idea creator. I don't.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at sometimes. So,
well, I think we worked them through. We've got them from start to finish.
We've covered the gamut. We've run the gamut, I think. And now it's just time to put that plan into action and finish it. Be a closer now. Go close the deal. Whether it's now, late November, close the deal. You put in all this work. You've put on all these miles. You've sat, you've watched, you've gone through all the pictures. You've ordered, you've called, you've talked to me, you've talked to other people, not you in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Now go close the deal, you guys. Seal the deal. Smile. Get a grip and grin behind that buck. I don't care if it's an 11 point, Michigan 11 point, an Ohio 11 point, or a real 11 point. Get behind him and grin. Smile. You just did something that you meant to do. You made mock scrapes, you put that buck in it, and then you put him in your truck.
You went out, you did the work. Now it's time to go get that reward, as you said.
Now it's time to earn your reward.
Go get
it's
it.
there. Go take it.
Go get it. Find that time when you can and go out there and do it. And hopefully, and I know we talked a lot about the guys, oh, my job, this. I get that. It's responsibilities. And I hope when you guys make it out, you guys are just as successful as the guys who can go out and do whatever they want. So I don't wish ill to anybody. Hope you have the success that you built and you've worked towards, and that you find your success in whatever it is that you want it to be. Absolutely.
Right. And it doesn't matter to me what buck it is. I don't care how big it is. Send me the picture. I'll be glad to post it and be glad for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I ditto that too. You can find us on our Instagram page, and as well as James as well. Well, sir, is there anything else that you need to say?
The only thing I need that I need to say to you is the same thing that I always say when we close this out. And that's just remember, the memories are forever and they're free. So you should get out and make some.
I think that's been the topic, and that's been the overriding topic of all this, is just go out there and make those memories. It's free.
Absolutely.
It's free. Go out there and do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for joining us on this 3-part series on the Scrape Doctor way. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. There is more to come, and will always be more to come. And I look forward to the next iterations and the deeper dives that will be coming in the near future. I can't say when, but in the near future with the Scrape Doctor himself. And I'm kind of jealous of the men and women who are going to be hearing this for the first time. Maybe it's the off season next year, because they've got all 3 episodes to get through, so they get all that knowledge at once. I hope you guys find this to be very comprehensive. I hope you find it to be inspiring to get you to go out there. And even if it's not with the Scrape Doctor products, which I highly recommend, they're great. But even if it's not that, you take the software that we presented to you to go out and make yourself better and grow inside this, not the industry, but grow outside. Your growth is a hunter, and you go out there and you chase the success that you want. With that being said, James, once again, sir, I cannot thank you enough for your time that you've given to us to come and sit and just the knowledge that you spread, and just your personality, who you are as a person. And I do seriously mean this. I am very happy for you. I'm happy for your family. I'm happy for your business, and I can't wait to see it continue to grow and become what you want it to be. And like you told me earlier, like, you have the choice to let it grow and to be as big as you want it to be. And I hope that you get that, and it's everything and more that you wanted it to be. I really do.
Well, thanks, Sean. I appreciate that, and appreciate all the kind words for sure. And we're definitely looking forward to some growth. That's for sure. We've already, like I told you, grown huge from last year, and we're excited to move on. And I got some new stuff coming again. We do have a new product that some guys have right now. It's called the Ivy Extreme. It's not on the website yet, but it can be. If you call me, I can get you one.
Hold on, I'm making a note right now. So Ivy Extreme. Yeah, you know what? I know, you and I have talked off the air, and there's some really great products that are coming. Keep an eye on the Scrape Doctor. Where can they find you at? Once again, give us your social handles and all that.
Yeah, we got we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, all under Scrape Doctor. Our TikTok name is Scrape Doctor 1, same as our Instagram. Scrapedoctor.com is where you can buy our products. If you're local to us, we're available at Beck's Bait and Tackle here in East Jordan, Michigan. We're available in the Amish store in Napanee, Indiana as well. And I know he has limited stocks. He just called me. And those are the 2 retail locations we have. So everything else is online.
Well, there it is, folks. Like I said, make sure you're following James and the Scrape Doctor along the journey. There's more products to come. There's some great things in the works. Your growth is continuing, and I really can't recommend it enough based upon my personal experience with not only just the products, but also just the overall culture of the Scrape Doctor and the willingness to be there and help people grow inside, to grow, to be better hunters and be better sportsmen and better people in general. Well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending the last hour and a half with us. I understand your time is very valuable, and I mean this with all seriousness, that I do appreciate that you decided to spend that hour and a half with us, to give us that valuable time of yours to sit and listen to myself and James talk about the last stage of the Scrape Doctor way. With that being said, folks, until our experiences cross paths again, may you have the courage to fail, but yet have the humility to learn. And as always, until the next one, we hope you stay safe out there. Thank you for listening to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Country Fried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Country Fried Outdoor Productions.